Everybody, I'm Tasha with the Major Change Group, and today we're going to be talking about the Navy Federal Auto Loan pre-approved process. So I get a lot of questions in regards to my experience with the Navy Federal Auto Loan pre-approved process, but you can always check that in the description, and I have a playlist with my experience of the auto loan process and other videos that I created answering questions. So check that in my description if possibly your question doesn't get answered today. So I had got my auto loan with Navy Federal 3 years ago, and I had got my auto loan for $20,299 for 60 months. And also I had got gap insurance as well. So let's get to some of these questions. Okay, so the most common question that I always get in regards to the Navy Federal auto loan process is I was approved for 35,000 and the car I want is 20K. So really what she's asking is what's going to happen with the additional 15,000 that's left over since the car she wants is only 20K. So what happens is you get the check from Navy Federal and it states do not exceed this amount. So she cannot exceed 35K, but her car is only 20K. So once you go to the dealership, you give them the check for 35K, but your car is 20K, then you'll go down to accounting and then they're going to call Navy Federal up and they're going to tell them how much your car was and it's 20K. So then your auto loan is going to be 20K. So then the additional 15K is going to be gone. It doesn't exist anymore because it's a pre-approved process. And so your check is only for 35, but you can't exceed that amount. So I think this is kind of good that she had got her check for a little bit more, because I know for myself, I knew that I wanted my car to be 20,000. And so I didn't get any more. I only got it for 20,000. But let's just say that maybe you want to get some extra features on your car, and then you don't have to call Navy Federal back to be able to get them to send you a new check. So she had her check for 35K. So that's kind of good. But the only thing is, once you sign on a dotted line of your car is going to be 20,000 and your check is for 35K, the rest of the money is gone. So that's just the pre-approved process. And you're pre-approved for that amount, but you don't have to use the full amount. Because somebody else had asked me a question about this, and I was just like, well, technically, you wouldn't want to add that extra 35K on there because one, that's going to make your auto loan go up. You know what I'm saying? And so really, that's going to be like a personal loan for that 15,000. So, really, you wouldn't want to, I would not want to use that extra amount. So you can think of it like that. The next question is, so I need to find my car first, or will the check be blank? What happens is you can either call Navy Federal up and do your auto loan pre-approved process through them, or you can go onto the site or even go through the app. Now, I called Navy Federal, and what's going to happen, they're going to ask you a few questions, and then you're going to tell them, okay, I want my car to be for 35,000. And so then you're going to get pre-approved for the 35,000. And so they're going to send you a check, and the check is going to be for 35,000. But what'll happen is it'll have like a little thing on the top, and it'll tell you that you have to use this check between, I want to say 60 to 90 days. But I remember when I had got my check and I had talked to the Navy Federal rep, she said it was going to be for 90 days, but I feel like my check was only 60 days. But then additionally, it's going to say you cannot exceed this amount. And so she was approved for 35. So it's going to say you cannot exceed 35K. But if you get a car for 20K, then you're still good. Now, additionally, if so happen you get your check for 35K, but then you searching around the different lots and you find a car for 40K or 45K, then you would just have to call Navy Federal up. And then it's possible, depending upon how large the gap is of your check, then they might have to do an additional extra processing on that, or maybe they can go ahead and send you another check. So, but you can always call Navy Federal if the car that you're wanting is more than the check that they gave you. But if your car is less, then you don't have to worry about it, because on the check it'll say do not exceed this amount. The next question is, how do you find out what your car payment will be? I'm only used to the dealership saying if you put this or that down, how much your auto loan will be. Okay, this is a great question. So what you want to do is you can always go on to the Navy Federal site, or there's this app that I like to use, and it's called the Loan You Later. So what I did, I knew that I wanted my auto loan to be 20,000. And then you can put however many months that you want on it. So here, for an example, is 72 months. But then also, if you go onto the Navy Federal website, it'll have the different interest rates depending on how many months. And so we'll take a look at that as well. And so you can see here, let's say my interest rate is going to be 4.740. Then my monthly payment is going to be $319. So I really like the Loan You Later app. So just go into your phone and go and check to see if you can find this app, the Loan You Later. I really like it. So when you go over to the Navy Federal site, they have so much information on here. So they're going to have rates, loan features, calculators, and things like that. So the first thing that I did, I went to check to see what are the different rates. It'll break it down by the loan type, and that's going to be new vehicle and used vehicle. So you can see where it has from 36 months all the way up to 96 months. But depending on how your credit profile and your credit score is, but also I think it's all dependent upon what's the relationship that you have with Navy Federal, with your internal score, that's going to be dependent upon what interest rate you're going to get. Because I know, like when I got my auto loan, y'all, my credit score was a 681, and I was still able to get the lowest interest rate. But then I believe I had already been a member with Navy Federal probably over a year, maybe a year and a half. And I had already had one credit card, maybe two, and then I was depositing money in my accounts on the regular. So you always want to make sure that you're building that relationship so that you can get a high internal score. So see here, you can see that, okay, your interest rate could be 4.45 all the way up to 8%. But then you can also check out here, and they have a calculator as well. So before you actually go to the dealership, this can give you kind of an idea of what your auto loan will be per whatever your price is and your terms. Now, all of that is going to be dependent upon once you go to the dealership and you pick your car, and then at the end, they're going to call Navy Federal up to finish out the loan process. I want to say 3 days later, after I had completed everything at the dealership, I got a text message from Navy Federal stating that I needed to complete my promissory note. And then once I did that, it had all of the terms and stuff on it. But since I had already went on the site, and then plus since I had went on the Loan You Later, I pretty much knew how much my rate was going to be, So I think that's how you can determine what your loan is going to be. But I would also say, once you go to the dealership, I would not let them, especially if you have a check from Navy Federal, I would not let them talk you into running your credit, because since you have your check with Navy Federal, they should not be running your credit and then, using the check for Navy Federal. Because I feel like being with a credit union, you can get your rates a lot lower than if you were at the dealership. So let me know, do you have any other questions as it relates to the Navy Federal pre-approved process? But also check out the description and check out my playlist in regards to the Navy Federal auto loan pre-approved process. But I hope that this video was helpful. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend, and turn your notification bell on so you will be notified when new content drops. I thank you so much for watching. It's not a game, it's a